My name is Amelia Carter, and today, I'm about to marry the wrong person. The dress I'm wearing feels heavy, not because of its weight, but because of what it represents: a life I didn't choose, a future that's not mine. I look at my reflection in the mirror, and all I see is a stranger. I've spent my life doing what my mother, Evelyn Carter, has told me. She's built her entire world around power and control, and now she's about to destroy me for the sake of a business deal. I'm marrying Jake Turner, a man I don't love, a man my mother chose for me because of his money and connections, and now I'm standing at the altar, seconds away from saying I do. But the only thing I can think about is how wrong this feels, how much I want to scream and run away. My mom never believed in love. For her, love was weak. Marriage was just a deal. So when she said I was marrying Jake Turner, I didn't dare question her. Jake came from a wealthy family, and to my mom, that was all that mattered. His past, his personality, none of it was important. I never liked Jake. He was arrogant, cold, and dismissive. He never cared about what I thought or felt. I was just another part of his business transaction, like a valuable asset. I told my mom I didn't want to marry him, that I didn't love him, but she just smiled and said, "Love doesn't matter, Amelia, this is what's best for you." And I believed her. I had no choice. There was someone else. Someone I loved with all my heart. His name is Ben. Ben wasn't rich. He didn't come from an important family, but he had something Jake would never have: a kind heart. He made me feel seen, heard, and loved for who I really was. We met in college, and from the moment we talked, I knew I was falling for him. Every time I looked at him, I saw the future I wanted. A life filled with love, laughter, and peace. But my mom would never accept him. Ben wasn't part of her plan. One night, Ben looked at me with so much love in his eyes and whispered, "Amelia, we can be happy. I'll love you, no matter what. Just say the word and we'll leave everything behind." I wanted to say yes. I wanted to be free, but I was scared. I was scared of disappointing my mom. I was scared of losing everything I knew, so I stayed. Now, I was about to marry the man I didn't love, and Ben was just a memory, a dream I could never have. The church was beautiful, with white roses everywhere, and gold accents catching the light. The guests were all smiling, whispering about how perfect the wedding was, but I didn't feel the happiness everyone else did. I looked up at Jake, who stood at the altar, his face stiff with the same coldness I had grown used to. He didn't even seem to care that I was nervous or upset. To him, this was just another transaction. As I walked toward him, my heart felt heavy. Each step felt like a mistake. This wasn't my choice. This wasn't the life I wanted. Just as the priest began to speak, I heard a loud crash. The doors to the church burst open, and there stood Ben. The room went silent. Everyone turned to stare, their eyes wide with shock. But I didn't care about the guests or the wedding anymore. I only cared about Ben. Ben's eyes locked with mine, and in that moment all the confusion and fear disappeared. "Amelia, don't do this," he called out, his voice shaking with emotion. "Don't marry him. Jake is dangerous. He's a criminal. You can't trust him." My heart stopped. I didn't want to believe it, but I knew Ben would never lie to me. Jake's face twisted with anger. "Who is this? What are you doing here?" Ben stepped forward, his voice pleading. "I love you, Amelia. Please, don't make this mistake." I felt tears well up in my eyes. I looked at Jake and saw the coldness in his eyes, the lack of any real emotion. He was the wrong person. I turned to my mom, who was standing there with her arms crossed, her face filled with disbelief. She had planned every moment of this wedding, and now she was watching everything unravel. I could see the rage in her eyes, but all I could think about was Ben. The man who had always been there for me. The man who saw me for who I truly was. Without thinking, I ran toward Ben. I threw my arms around him and whispered, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I didn't listen." Ben held me tight, his voice soft but full of relief. "It's okay, Amelia. We'll be okay." The church was silent. My mom was standing frozen, her eyes filled with anger and disbelief. Jake was furious, but I didn't care anymore. I wasn't going to marry a criminal. I wasn't going to live a life I didn't want. I turned to Ben. "Let's go. Let's leave this place." We didn't know where we were going, but in that moment, I was free. We walked out of the church hand in hand. I could hear my mother yelling my name, but I didn't turn around. I had finally chosen my own path. I didn't know what the future would hold, but I knew one thing: I had Ben by my side. and that was all that mattered. We didn't need money, power, or status. All we needed was each other, and for the first time in my life, I felt truly happy.